Hey y'all, so it's me Alexandra and today I am back with a new video. Today I am back with a storytime video, which I haven't done a storytime in a really long time just because I really haven't had any like stories to tell. Like my life has pretty much been going like simple and smooth and nothing's been nothing's been happening except, recently. Just to give you guys some background info, I am in college. I do go to college out of state, just therefore I do live on campus in a dorm. I've been living in this dorm. In my school, we have separate dorms for freshmen, and then after that, everybody else kind of lives wherever they want in the other dorms. So my freshman year, I had a dorm, and then my sophomore year, I moved into another dorm, and now as a junior, I'm living in the same exact dorm, in the same exact room as I was living in my sophomore year, just because I don't know. I liked the room, and I was like, I'm just gonna. So when it came time to choose a new room, I chose the exact same room just because I like to stay in the same place. I already knew what the room looked like. I didn't have to worry about things being different because I was the one who lived in it the year before, and I also live by myself. I don't have a roommate, so like I already was comfortable in the room. I was like, let me just choose the same room. My room has air conditioning. I would leave my room at 72 during the day and then 68 at night. And then one of my friends also lives in the same building as me, except she lives upstairs, a floor above me. And I remember in the beginning of the year, she kept telling me that like, she kept seeing this stuff on her shoes. She kept seeing these like little white dots on her shoes. And she was like, I don't know, is this mold? And I'm like, I was like, since it wasn't me, I didn't really care that much. I was like, oh, I don't know what it is, but I don't. So one day I was washing my hair, and I came back to my room after washing my hair, and when I walk in, my dresser is on my left, and on my dresser is my shoe rack hanging. So when and I usually always leave my dresser door open, so like when I walk in, my shoe rack is like right next to me. So I walk into the room after washing my hair, and I see my shoes hanging. My flats are hanging on there, and I see white fuzz on my flats. Okay, it's like, you know how when strawberries like mold, they get fuzzy? Like when strawberries go bad, they get like really fuzzy and like white fuzz all over it. That's exactly what it looked like, except it was on my black flats. It was on the heel part of my black flats. There was like this big old thing of white fuzz. Okay, and I was like, hold up. I saw that and I was like,
Oh, hell
I was like, what is this?
no!
I do have some pictures. I did take some pictures of some of the stuff I'm going to explain. And I'm gonna insert a picture of what I saw the shoe looking like. But let me tell you, one side was worse than the other, and I actually didn't take a picture of the side that was worse. I took a picture of the other side where it only had a little bit fuzz. So pretty much just imagine that little fuzz times like 4 on the other side, because I didn't want to touch it again to like take another picture. So anyways, I look at the shoe and I'm like, oh my goodness. And instantly I thought back to what my friend was saying about seeing stuff on her shoes. So I instantly FaceTimed her and I'm like, what were you saying that your shoes look like? Because I just saw some white fuzz on my shoes and I don't know what the heck it is, and I think it may be mold. And then she goes to explain the shoe, what she's seen on her shoe. And I believe she had showed me a video of what she shows me her shoes and what it looked like, and I was like, I think that's mold, and I think what I have on mine is mold also. And I'm sitting here like I don't know, like in my mind I'm like, how could this have possibly happened? Like why is there mold in my flats? Like, but I'm in the middle of doing my hair, so my hair is about to dry out. I'm trying to apply deep conditioner, so I'm like, you know what, let me just finish doing my hair. So I finished doing my hair and I sit on my desk to do my hair, and as I'm doing my hair, I'm like looking at my desk and I'm looking at the handles, and all of a sudden it kind of looked like dust. If you look at it real quick, it just looked like dust, but I kept looking at it and I realized that that wasn't dust. There's a difference between dust and mold, and that was not dust. I was like, oh my goodness, like it was little bits of mold in the handle of my dresser, and it wasn't the same fuzzy mold that was on my shoe. It was more of a grayer one that kind of looked like dust, like I said. And then I'm like, okay, but I'm still like doing my hair, so I'm just like, okay, let me hurry up, let me just finish this hair so I can actually like go and focus on what the heck is going on. So I finished doing my hair, and that's when I started inspecting this room. So like I said, I don't have a roommate in my room. So my room is a double, but like I said, I live with myself, so I have pretty much 2 of everything. I have 2 beds in my room, 2 dressers, 2 closets, as if I were to have a roommate. So I looked on the other desk, the desk that's empty that's supposed to be my roommate's, and on the top of the desk is that same like gray mold that I saw on my desk. It's on the top, but it's more on the surface of it. I have a picture of that. I'll insert a picture of what I saw that looking like. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like at this point, I'm like internally freaking out. So I remember the RA on my floor, she lives like 2 doors down from me. So I walk out my room, I go knocking on her door, and I'm like, yeah, I have mold in my room. And she's like, oh my goodness. And like but at this point it is 11 o'clock at night. So she comes to my room and she looks at my shoes, she looks at my desk, and she goes, oh my gosh, like that is mold. But she was like, but unfortunately, like, I hate to tell you, but there's really nothing we can do right now because it is 11 o'clock at night and nobody is awake. Like none of the people that she would call would be awake right now, and like there's really nothing to do right now. She was like, you're gonna have to wait till the morning, so like do what you need to do to sleep, but yeah, like I can't do anything right now. So I was like, should I get my disinfectant wipes and start wiping it down? Like, and she was like, I don't really think so. But I'm like, honestly, I don't feel comfortable going to sleep knowing that there's mold right on my desk. Like that just like open mold. Like I know you're not supposed to even breathe that type of stuff in. And she was like, okay, then if you want, you can wipe it down, just take some pictures before you wipe them down. And so that's exactly what I did. I kept wiping stuff down until all the visible mold was gone. Then I went to sleep. I didn't really sleep that comfortably. And the next morning, my friend that I had called about her also having mold on her shoes, she tells me, she's like, I inspected my room and I see mold in my room too. She had mold up and down her dresser. She started seeing mold also in random parts of the. She's like, like she was freaking out. She was like, no, we are not sleeping. She's like, she's not gonna sleep in that room with mold in it. And I was like, oh, okay, then neither am I. So I was like, okay, we both not sleeping in our rooms tonight, because so that night we ended up going back to the RA and saying that both of us have a mold in our room and we're both not going to sleep in our room tonight. That night, okay, so the RA was like, okay, fine, we're gonna find you another room to stay in tonight until we can figure out what we're gonna do about your rooms. So we went around our building and they started looking for like the vacant rooms, stay there, because she also lives by herself. She also has basically a single, and I also have basically a single, so we both don't have roommates, so we both were gonna just sleep in the same room wherever they put us. So we go to the first room and they're like, okay, here you go, like inspect the room, make sure you like it, and then we'll just put you in here tonight. So we inspect the room, we got our eyes peeled for this mold. We're like, let me just make sure, because if it was 2 people's room in the same building that had mold, like we were going to be making sure that the next room that's also going to be in the same building didn't have that mold. We went to the first room, we found mold. Okay, we went to the second room and we found mold. Okay, we found it like on the bed frames, some of them on the desk. We saw the mold and we're like, oh my goodness, like 2 rooms we passed and we see mold. We get to the third room, we're like, okay, I don't see anything. All right, this is going to be a room. The room was I was like, okay, whatever, we're going to stay here tonight. It was at this point, it was actually really late at night. I don't know why we started looking for rooms late at night, but it was around 2 o'clock in the morning that night, because I think we both waited till we both got out of class to go tell them about the mold thing, because I had class late that day, I believe. And so anyway, when we went searching for rooms, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was so exhausted because we just kept looking for new rooms and places to stay and what we were going to do. And we found the third room and we're like, okay, we searched the room, we didn't see any mold. We're like, all right, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I want to go to sleep. I'm pretty sure I had class the next day, or I had work the next morning or something like that. I had to do something the next morning where I was gonna have to wake up early. So I was like, okay, let me just go to sleep. I go to sleep, I'm like laying in my bed, because at first I was just like, let me lay in my bed because I just need to relax from all this walking around. And then I was like, okay, let me get up and go brush my teeth and get ready to go to sleep. So I get out of my bed, I turn over my bed sheets, and on the bed frame, I look closely and I'm like, what is this I see? And then I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I call my friend, I'm like, come here, look. And I'm like, I think that's mold. And we're both looking at it and we're like, it's mold. And I was like, no. I was literally like 2 seconds away. I was like, all I gotta do is brush my teeth, wash my face, and go to sleep. No. Oh, I had also washed my bed sheets, because before I moved into my new room, I wanted to wash my clothes. So that's also the reason why it took me so long to go to sleep. I was like washing my stuff before I brought it into the new room. So I'm like, I just washed these sheets. Like I just was ready to go to sleep. And I see the little, and I'm like, we call the RA again. At this point, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. So we call the RA again.
Open the fuck up!
And we're like, yep, this room has mold. We need a new room. So we find the fourth room. The fourth room, we went in. We really thoroughly inspected this room, made sure that we didn't see any traces of mold in this room. And we finally didn't see it. And we were like, okay, this is it. We're going to stay here tonight. We moved over some of our stuff that we needed for the night. And we stayed in the room and we went to sleep. So then the next morning, we had to call like the maintenance people, or the people that are in charge of like cleaning the rooms and stuff like that. And or we went to a whole bunch of people, like Campus Life. We went to a whole bunch of people that are in charge of the dorms. They sent somebody to come inspect our room. They sent one of the cleaning people to come like inspect our room. And since I had cleaned off a lot of my mold, like I really couldn't show them stuff because I had cleaned it off. My friend hadn't cleaned her stuff off, so she showed them her side, and I also showed them the pictures. They said it was because they said for me, it was because I had opened my window. Like I said, I have air conditioning in my room, and they said the combination of me opening my window and the air conditioning being on is what caused the mold. And I was like, well, I didn't even keep my window open. I only would open my window when I needed to dry my shoes, which was like once a week that it rained and I put my shoes in there, and I only left the window open for like a day, and then I closed it as soon as, so majority of the time my window was closed. My window was only open for a couple of hours during some days. And also my friend had never opened her window. So I was like, there is no way, because it was during this time period where it was like raining every single day. So they were saying, the weather was really humid outside, and it was, it had been raining like every single day for like a week. And they were like, and that was the week that I had opened my window. So they were saying that, because you were opening your window during that time where it was really humid, and you also having the air conditioning, that combination like caused the mold. And I was like, I kind of believed them at first. I was like, okay, whatever, fine. But then, like I said, my friend had never opened her window, and she kept her air conditioning on. So it was like, we're like, I don't know what it is. But I was like, okay, so I closed my window. I was like, okay, I'm never going to open this window again. They said, okay, at this point, I think it was a Saturday, and they said they said I would have to move all my stuff out, and they were going to clean my room on Monday. So they were going to like deep clean, bleach, do everything to the room. And so I'd be able to move into the room. So I was like, okay, so I spent that weekend pretty much moving everything from my old room to this new temporary room. I disinfected everything before I brought it to the new room. I moved all my stuff out. They cleaned the room. They bleached the room. They let the room air out. And then I moved my stuff back in a couple days later. So I moved my stuff back in a couple days later. And I'm like, okay, the first couple of nights I was a little scared. I was like, I really hope mold does not just like reappear. But first couple of nights I didn't see mold in my stuff again. So I was like, okay, So then maybe I want to say 3 days later, I'm waking up. At this point, I'm like comfortable in my room now. At this point, I never opened the windows, even though it rained and stuff like that, and some of my shoes got wet. I ended up just leaving my shoes my wet shoes in the locker room, because I was like, I'm not opening this window to let them air out, because apparently that's what caused the mold, and I'm just not going to do that. So if I had wet shoes, I left them in the locker room. So I after a couple of days later, so I wake up one morning. I think it was like Wednesday. So like I had moved back into my room on Monday after they had cleaned, and now this was Wednesday or Thursday, who knows. So I get out of my bed, I put on my clothes, and I had this outfit on that, like, in my mind, I was like, you put on that outfit and you're like, oh, that would look real cute with these shoes. So I had this, like, white long sleeve shirt on, and I had these, like, black shorts on, and I was like, this would look real cute with my black and white Puma platforms. I hadn't worn those shoes in a while, so I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity for me to pull them out again. So I'm like, all right, so I keep if you see my room tour, I keep my shoe rack underneath my bed. So I'm like, all right, so, I kind of just reached underneath, because I kind of knew where the shoe was. I didn't even have to look underneath. I just reached underneath and grabbed the shoe. I kind of grabbed the shoe by the tongue. I pulled the shoe out. Y'all, the shoe was covered in mold. I like screamed. I like literally dropped the shoe. I literally ran to the bathroom, washed my hand like 5 times because I was like, I think I touched the mold. The shoe, I have a picture of the shoe, so I'll insert a picture of the shoe. I picked up the shoe and the shoe was covered. It's a black suede shoe with a white platform on it, and the black part was covered in these like whitish gray spots. Okay, so this shoe is black suede. When I see white spots all over it, like, I mean, the way I like dropped that shoe so quick and ran to the bathroom, oh my goodness. I washed my hands, I put on another pair of shoes, and I stormed straight to the campus life office, and I asked to speak to the campus life coordinator. And she had seen me already because I had I had told her about the mold the first time it happened, and I was talking about being reimbursed because the shoes that had mold that were really bad, I threw away those because I was like, I just didn't feel comfortable putting those shoes back on my feet. So I had thrown those away, and I told her, I gave her a list of stuff because I was like, I need to be reimbursed for these shoes. So I come to her, and she's like, don't worry, I'm getting all the stuff about the reimbursement. I'm trying to get you reimbursed for those shoes. And I'm like, no, this is a more serious issue. I was like, there is more mold in my room, and I just picked up my shoe, and it's covered in mold. And she's like, oh my goodness. And she's like, okay, that means you really need a new room. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not going back to that room. I'm not sleeping in that room tonight. And by the way, that shoe did not have mold the first time. The first time when I had the incident of mold and had to move my stuff to a new temporary room, I had inspected all my shoes. So that shoe, I remember that shoe did not have, it was completely looking new, like it had no mold on it. So now 2 days later, this shoe is covered in mold. I was like, this mold came back full force, attacked my shoes. I'm going into a different room, and I'm adding this stuff to this list of stuff that needs to be reimbursed. So I went back to my room. That's when I started inspecting. I started seeing mold all over. This time I started seeing mold on my purses that were in my closet. Like at least 3 of my purses, bags were covered in mold. There was more shoes. They were mold on like the bottom of the shoe, the sides of the shoes. I don't know how I didn't notice this stuff, but there was mold on way more stuff. It was just like full force. This time, instead of just attacking my shoes, it attacked my handbags. Like, I was at this point, I was like grossed out. Like I literally just didn't even want to touch anything like that wasn't already on my body. And so I inspected the room when I went back, right? Then, of course, I had to go to class. This was in the morning. Like I said, I was getting ready for class. I was like, okay, I got to get my mind together and go to class. Go to class. I come back to my class. I come back to my dorm probably a couple hours later, and more things have mold. Okay, morning when I had seen mold on my sneakers, I had inspected my room. And so I remembered what had mold and what didn't. When I came back a couple hours after my class, more things had mold. Things that did not have mold that morning, that I specifically remember didn't have things that didn't have mold that morning, now had mold. So I was like, wait, hold up. This handbag did not have mold on it this morning. I come back, there's mold on the side. I'm like, so the mold basically was multiplying by the hour. Every time I came back, another shoe had mold on it. Another area of this had mold on it. I was like, oh my goodness. There was no way I was going to be able to sleep in that room tonight. And honestly, I just didn't have the energy to like move everything to that new room. So I just moved what was important. I rewashed my bed sheets again, and I brought what was important and what I needed at that time and moved that over for the night. And I left the room. I was like, you know what? It's just going to be a process. It's going to take some time for me to move all of my stuff from one building to another. So I moved it, you know what I mean? So I slept in that new room that night. I woke up in the morning, went to class. After I came back from class, I went back to my old room to start moving more stuff over. And more things had mold. More of my shoes had mold. More, like, I was seeing mold on more and more things. Literally things that like I said, I had seen before and did not have mold. I woke up the next morning and there was more mold on more shoes. At this point, like, almost half of my shoes were covered in mold. And I was like, that's when I realized, I was like, okay, you know what? I have to expedite this process. I was in here trying to take my sweet time, moving my stuff over from my old room to my new room. But it was like, the more time I took, the more things that were being affected with mold. Like, I had to work fast. My list of things that had mold on it was over $1,000. Like, I was so angry. I was so angry, y'all. I moved all my stuff that night. I had to disinfect them. The stuff that were really bad, I left in the room. I ended up buying a mold spray because some of the stuff I really could not throw away. Some of the stuff was like really valuable items, or some of the stuff only had like a little bit of mold that really could have been wiped away. So I ended up going to the store, buying like a mold spray, like a spray specifically to remove mold and mildew and all that stuff. Not even because the regular disinfecting wipes, I was like, no, that's not strong enough. I need something that's going to remove the mold. So I ended up buying that mold spray, and some of the stuff that like was so valuable, like I just could not throw it away, or that didn't have a lot of mold on it, I would spray it down. And surprisingly, that spray was worked really well. As soon as I would spray that spray on the mold would like disappear. So I sprayed it all over the stuff until I had to, of course, use the plastic bags over my hands to clean, and I sprayed some of the stuff down until the mold was like visibly gone, and then I threw a lot of those into the washing machine, and just to ensure that the mold was gone. And that surprisingly did work. It removed a lot of the mold from some of my stuff, but majority of my stuff I had to throw away. I ended up disinfecting, instead of just disinfecting everything with just Lysol and whatever the disinfectants wipes, I sprayed every single thing down with that mold spray. Even stuff that didn't have mold, I sprayed down with the mold spray, because I was like, apparently this mold is coming out of nowhere, so it could be on stuff I didn't even know. And then I really tried to think, like, where was this mold coming from? Because like I said, after they told me about the window thing, I never opened my window again. So it couldn't have so when it came back the second time, I was like, there's no way it could have come back from the window. So one thing I had noticed, so I really was like reflecting, I was like, what could have caused this mold? And I was thinking back, so the first couple nights, so when I was living in my old room, by the way, this year, my junior year, when I moved into that room, like I said, which was the same as my room my sophomore year, I had noticed, like, I was going to sleep. Like I said, I sleep with the room freezing cold. I was waking up every morning sweating. I was sweating when I woke up every morning. And I was really confused. Like I said, I keep my room really cold, and I would just sleep with a t-shirt and shorts. Like, why was I waking up sweating? It got to the point where I even had to sleep with just nothing on top. Like, I had to sleep with no shirt on, and sleep with like my thin sheets. And even that, I was still waking up a little bit sweaty. And it was like, I don't understand. My room was at 68 degrees. I'm going, like, why am I waking up so sweaty? But at the point, I thought it was just my body. I was like, maybe I'm just going through something internally, and my body is just, I don't know, maybe something is off. I don't know why I'm waking up sweating. I kind of blamed it on myself. I was like, I don't know what's going on with my body, but I'm waking up sweating. When I moved into this new room, by the way, didn't have air conditioning, which was really annoying, but I refused to open my window, right? One night, I forgot to take off my long sleeve. I just had a long sleeve random shirt on, and I had went to sleep in that with my big old covers and everything. Like I said, this room does not have air conditioning. And I went to sleep, and I woke up the morning, and I was completely dry. I was not sweaty at all. And I was like, hold up. If I had slept like this in my old room, I would have woken up in a pile of sweat. But now this new room, I went to sleep with a long sleeve on and my big old fluffy comforters, and I didn't wake up sweating. I was like, oh no, it was something going on with that old room. I was like, if I am not sweating now, why was I sweating in that old room? Like, this was around the same time period. The weather didn't change. So that's when I realized, okay, it wasn't just me. Like, I thought it was just me sweating for some other reason. But like, the fact that I wasn't sweating by that, I was like, that means that room was like really humid, and I didn't realize it. Or it was getting really humid at night. I don't know, but I was like, there has to be some reason. And then also, I remember when I had first moved into the room, and I was putting up all my decorations on my wall. Like I said, if you see my room tour, you've seen that I have a few things hanging up on my wall. I have lights, I have like little portraits, all this stuff on my wall. And I remember when I was first putting those up, they kept falling down. Like, I would put them up, and they would fall down. Like, the tape was not sticking to the wall. Like, everything was like, my stuff on my wall were like coming down. That's when I really realized, like, that room was really humid, and I never really realized it. I kept the room cold, so I don't understand how it got so humid, but that room was really humid. The stuff, I should have realized it when stuff was not staying on my walls, and also when I was waking up every morning sweating. And now I'm in this new room, and stuff is sticking on my walls like with no problem, and I'm waking up not sweating. And so that's when I realized, like, that was the issue. That's the reason why even after they cleaned the room, the mold came back, because it wasn't this, I thought it was me. I was like, maybe I brought something in the room that had mold on it and didn't realize it, and it just spread. But no, like, that's the reason the mold kept coming, and also the reason why the mold kept multiplying so quickly. The room was moist. I don't know how the room was moist. There's air conditioning in the room. I didn't open the window again. So I don't know, but the room was just moist for some reason. This happened 2 months ago, and still I have not seen mold since. Of course, so now it was like, okay, so what about this reimbursement though? Like I said, I had over $1,000 worth of damages. And honestly, unfortunately, I am still waiting to get reimbursed. I have been contacting my school, emailing them and everything, and I'm contacting the lady that's in charge of it, and it's a long process, but I ain't stopping until I get reimbursed, because the amount of shoes and bags I had to throw away, nah, like I ain't stopping until I get reimbursed. So I am still in the process of trying to do that. I wanted to wait to do this video until after I got reimbursed and after the whole situation was done, but honestly it's going to take a while, and I kind of wanted to do this video while it's still fresh on my mind, because after a while you start to forget things. Like I was already starting to forget things about the story, but after a while you really start to forget things, and I didn't want I didn't want to like forget little details in this video and not be able to accurately give you all the story time and forget stuff and stuff like that. So it is now December 20th. This incident happened around October, I want to say October like 13th, but I don't know, but they better not play me, because I'm gonna get reimbursed, y'all. I got so many questions after all my friends were asking me like, what happened, like why were you changing rooms and everything. So I was like, let me just make one story time video so you guys can watch and find out the unfortunate events of my life. But that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video.